Hey guys, I just made a video but I wanted to add this short intro to give it some context. So I'm going to be talking about ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. And ACT does a very good job at labeling and identifying aspects of our behaviour that hold us back. And that's very important because it gives us perspective and it allows us to see it for what it is, see what isn't working and begin to change our attitude. Now, avoidance is so ingrained that it becomes our default setting. It influences every social decision that we make, and we're motivated to avoid the pain. But what happens is that leads to another kind of pain, and it lowers our self-confidence. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. The other kind of pain that it leads to and how that creates a feedback loop. When our confidence is lowered, it leads to more of a compulsion to avoid, and you just remain in this loop. And I can remember when I was affected by pain on top of pain. When I think back to a time when I broke down at work once around Christmas, I'd been invited out to a lot of parties, but I turned every invitation down. I didn't want to face the anxiety of my shy bladder. Whenever I would feel anxiety around my shy bladder, I would judge my self-worth, I would judge my character based upon what I was feeling in the moment. And whenever I felt anxiety around not being able to pee, I'd feel less than. I'd feel less of a man. And my confidence was shot at that time. Backing out of every invitation to go out really broke my heart because I really loved my co-workers, and I used to worry sometimes that maybe they think that I don't like them, which was total opposite to the truth. And I remember crying in front of my boss, and I told them all about the shy bladder, and they were very understanding and empathetic and supportive. So what's the solution? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. What we're really looking for here is a shift in attitude. It's a shift within us that says, okay, the graduated exposure is going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be painful, but you know what? It's worth it. And with that, you begin to move towards what you fear of your own free will. You do it willingly. And that's what causes it to diminish. That's what causes those voices that hold you back to get quieter and quieter to the point where they're just no longer there and you wonder where they've gone, and you're peeing in situations you never thought possible. I've been reading a great book right now called Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. ACT is based upon the notion that, as a rule, the more we try to avoid pain, the more we get entangled in it, the more it becomes something traumatic, and it actually amplifies the pain. When we're caught in a struggle with psychological problems, we often put life on hold, and we believe that until our pain lessens, we can't live our lives again. So in the case with paresis, we live a life that accommodates it. Life becomes more narrow, more is out of bounds, and we become more rigid. Now, in this book, there's an exercise in the book, and they encourage you to really hone in on what you value in life, to really contemplate what matters to you. What kind of life would you live if paresis wasn't an issue? How has it stifled the goals that you set for yourself in life? And they get you to contemplate that because they're really wanting to drive home the fact that not only has avoidance not worked, it can't work. And the reason why we need to drive that idea home to us, this applies to me as well, is because even though we can believe that we understand that the avoidance not only has it not worked, but cannot work, do we really understand it on an emotional level? And we need to understand it on an emotional level, because otherwise our behavior doesn't change. We don't embody it. We don't have a visceral experience of that fact until our behavior changes. And this idea really came through when I'm reading it. I'm drawing comparisons with my own life. Now, they identify two sources of pain to make this point. There's the pain of presence and the pain of absence. The pain of presence is the social anxiety itself, what you experience when you're attempting to pee and you're unable to. The pain of absence is what is now absent from your life because you attempt to escape the pain of presence. So, for example, someone who suffers panic attacks, they no longer go out. They stay at home. And so what is absent from their life is a sense of community. Let's say, for example, that particular person really values meaningful connections with other people. They miss out on that. It's absent from their life because of an attempt to eliminate the pain of presence. The solution is to judge your life not based upon what you feel, but based upon what you do. The solution is to make what you do connected not to your pain and the avoidance of pain, but to the life you truly want to live. Okay, so I've interrupted the video because I really want you to get what I'm attempting to convey here. Self-confidence is all about our self-image. And when I switched my self-image to that of someone who says, hey, you know what? I have a shy bladder, but I'm doing something about it. I'm getting out there, I'm facing it, and I'm doing my graduated exposure work. And I began to grow in confidence from that. It no longer mattered so much if I had a misfire, and I no longer tried to portray an image of having it all under control. Just wanted to put that in just in case it hadn't come across. I'm going to let this guy carry on with the video. Pema Chodron's written a book titled The Wisdom of No Escape. And that title says it all, doesn't it? The Wisdom of No Escape. And she writes, if we're committed to comfort at any cost, as soon as we come up against the least edge of pain, we're going to run. We'll never know what's beyond that particular barrier, or wall, or fearful thing. You'll never know what you're made of until you allow yourself to take that step forwards. And you start where you're at. This doesn't mean that you now take up every invitation to go out, whether it be to a restaurant or to an air ballooning trip. That's something I came across on one of the forums. Someone had been invited out to try air ballooning. And that's a real challenge for anyone experiencing shy bladder. Leave the door open to back out. Make both choices valid, because otherwise you're going to feel like you're backed into a corner. Both choices are valid. The aim is to do it with awareness and not compulsive, not a compulsion. So we're not compulsively backing out. We're weighing it up. We're gauging where we are on the journey and whether this is too much of a stretch or not. The aim is to do it with awareness and a curiosity and an honesty with the choices that we're making. I can remember a time when I went out on a date and I almost didn't go out on the date because of the voice. What's going to happen? How am I going to cope with it? But at the end of it, I was so glad I did, because I was judging my life based upon not how I felt, but on my actions. And I was open to putting myself in that awkward situation, because that night on the date, we were in a nightclub, I needed to pee, and I wouldn't even go to the toilets. Never mind, it wasn't a case of me having a misfire, I didn't want to face failure. Now, even though I went through that, at the end of the night, I knew I put myself in it of my own free will, of my own accord, and I felt better for it, because we did get to know each other a little better, and I got to know myself better. I began to see the ways in which I hold myself back, because I approached it then as being like a scientist in my own life. So I hope you got something from that video. I'm going to leave it there. Take it easy. Catch you on the next one.